Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. And so today's video is going to be a book haul video. I'm really excited for this book haul. It's a different direction on books that I haven't really read before, but I'm really excited about, and I'm really excited to jump into this genre. Like I've been talking a lot on this channel, if you have been around for a while, I have been finding myself a little bit disappointed in a lot of thrillers or mysteries I've been picking up, because I have found that they're more psychological in nature, and I don't think I like that in my books. I like suspenseful mysteries, edge of your seat, like anxiety inducing mysteries, but I don't like ones where you're kind of in somebody's head and all their messed up past has made them have messed up behavior and messed up thought patterns, and that's the mystery and that's the intrigue. I don't like those books. I'm giving up on those books. So in light of that, I have picked up a whole ton of new mystery thriller books that I'm going to share with you that hopefully have nothing to do with that kind of a trope. So stay tuned for my huge new book pile. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you have been coming for a while. Like I said, I'm really excited to share these new mystery thriller type books with you. I would call them like detective-based mystery thriller books, or at least that was what I was going for. So that's my hopes in these books. And so I picked up a number of series because I also like series, and I think I like detective suspenseful mystery novels, so I landed on these books. And because I like to read series kind of all at once, I picked up a lot of the books in this series, and I just made kind of a thrift book, a book outlet order, things like that to try and make sure I wasn't spending too much money, but I found some really good stuff. So let me share with you. I'll just do it based on series. So this first set of books I picked up are part of the Dublin Murder Squad, written by Tana French. And I picked up the first 3 books in this series, although I have heard that you don't necessarily have to read this in order. It kind of follows different detectives from what I understand. So this first one is called In the Woods, and I'm actually currently reading this book and I'm really liking it so far. But it is about this man who became a detective. He's a recent addition to the murder squad, but he also has this past that he can't explain. So when he was a child, he was a part of this traumatic event that happened in this small town where him and his friends went into the woods, and only he survived, and his friends just disappeared. And he appeared to be traumatized in some way. He cannot remember what happened. And that's kind of where it landed, and it didn't get solved. And then like 20 years later, he is now a detective, and he and his partner have been called back to that same small town where I think a woman goes missing. And I'm sure some of that backstory of his childhood past is going to come play a part in the current mystery. So that just sounds so interesting. So I'm looking forward to finishing this, and I'll let you know what I think. And I'm hoping I like it because I actually picked up 2 more, like I said. So the second one in the series is called The Likeness. And this one follows the detective from the first one. So the man from the first one here, I think his name was Rob Ryan. His partner is named Cassie, and the main detective in this book is Cassie. And what is interesting about this book is it sounds like she's been called to investigate like this really strange murder of this woman who eerily looks a lot like her. And they find an identification on the body that was like Alexandra Madison, but that was the name she was using on an undercover job she did before joining the murder squad, and the victim looks a lot like her. So it's just a little creepy, and so she's involved in solving this, and I believe the police force is wanting to kind of use her as like bait almost to draw somebody out. So it sounds intense and scary and exactly what I was wanting. So there's that one. And then the third one I picked up is called Faithful Place. And this book follows a different detective. So his name is Frank. And it follows his story. So it sounds like when he was a child, he lived in a very poor neighborhood in a poor house, and he was trying to escape it. Him and his girlfriend were going to like run away. And then I think on the night they were going to run away, she doesn't show up. So he figures she ditched him, and he goes on with his life. And then 20 years later, he's a part of the murder squad, and he gets called to that same house, the house he used to live in, because her suitcase was found in the wall. And so then it leads to the fact like maybe she didn't leave, maybe there was foul play, and he just didn't realize it. He thought she broke up with him, but actually she just never left town. So now he's in charge of solving that murder. So that just sounds so good. That sounds so interesting. So I'm excited to pick up that series. So another series I picked up is this series, and I heard about this from Chapters and Converse. I will link her down below, but she really liked these books, and when she was describing them, they sounded like a type of detective mystery series that I would really like. And so the first one is called The Darkness, and it's by Ragnar Jonasson, and it just sounds so interesting. All of these books are set in Iceland, and it's based around one main female detective named Hulda. And so with this first book, it sounds like Hulda is reaching kind of retirement age, and the police force is trying to push her into early retirement and just to kind of get her out of the way. And she doesn't really want to. She feels like she's going to be lonely. There's this case of this young woman who washed up on shore. She was Russian, and she was believed to just have committed suicide, and the case was closed. But Hulda doesn't think so. And as she is being asked to kind of leave, they give her like one more case, like go ahead and choose what case you want to solve, sort of idea. And she chooses that one, and she's curious as to what's going on, and she doesn't think it's just suicide. She thinks there's kind of foul play, if you will. So then she starts to investigate it, and another young woman goes missing, and she's in charge of solving it. And that just sounds so good. It's so interesting. And what I do believe of this series, because there's only 3 books in this series, is they are more interconnected. Some of the mysteries and unexplained things from the first couple books are revealed in the 3rd book, is from what I understand, and I really like that. So the second book in the series is called The Island, and it does involve that same detective, Hulda. And so this is about a small group of friends who go to an island. It's a deserted island. They go to, I believe, like reconnect, and then one of them doesn't make it out. And so the detective, Hulda, is called onto the case, and she is thinking it might be linked to the previous murder of a young woman 10 years ago, sort of idea. And so she's involved in investigating the murders, and it says the island follows Hulda's journey to uncover the island's chilling secrets. And then it says she must find the truth hidden in the darkest shadows and shine a light on her own dark past. So that just sounds really good. The last one in this series is called The Mist. And this one is about a remote farmhouse where a man and woman live. And then there's this stranger who wanders in during, like, I believe, like a terrible storm, and he needs shelter. And of course they're like hospitable and like, come in, we can't leave you out there, you will freeze to death, sort of idea. And one of the people, it sounds like, is more trusting of this man, and the other is more suspicious. And then the suspicions just keep building and building and building towards the fact that this man had a purpose for why he was where he was, and they're figuring it out. And then it sounds like 2 months after that, Detective Hulda is called in to investigate what happened out at the remote farmhouse, but she also has some family stuff going on in this book, but it gets all drawn into the investigation. And I believe this is the book that kind of wraps up a lot of the things in some of these books. And so that just sounds so good. So I'm excited for that. That sounds a lot more like suspense, detective, anxiety-inducing mysteries, less psychological. At least that's my hopes. So those are 2 series I picked up. Okay, the next set of books, I've actually read the first in the series, and I have been wanting to continue the series. I just haven't found a good place to buy them used, but I got a ton of them off of thrift books. So the series is the Nikki French series, the one that has all the days of the week on it. So I have read Blue Monday, and I really enjoyed it. And what links all these books together is Frida Klein. And so she's not a detective. She's a psychotherapist that sometimes gets drawn in to investigations. Like, she knows a detective, or she became associated with one during the first book, and now they kind of have a running relationship. And I believe she gets called in when there's some shady things going on. So the next book in the series is called Tuesday's Gone. So it sounds like there's this man who is found dead, but he is in the presence of one of Frida Klein's patients who has kind of a psychotic break, and he's like serving this dead man tea, sort of idea. So Frida's brought in to help understand what this man is trying to explain to them about the dead man. And it turns out that the dead man is like a notorious con man. And as they start investigating further, they find a lot of different reasons why he would be murdered, but one of them seems to link back to Frida. So that just sounds really interesting. I believe a lot of these books also pull her backstory into the books, and you kind of work through a lot of that through a lot of these books. And again, I just love when that happens in books. So the next one is called Waiting for Wednesday. And in this book, it sounds like Frida gets involved because she gets pulled in through one of her clients, and she gets drawn into the search for a lot of these different missing women. And it sounds like there's like a killer on the loose, like a serial killer who is trying to stay hidden, but yet Frida Klein and the detectives are trying to find him. So that sounds like what this is about. And so that sounds really good, and I'm interested in reading more about that. The next one is called Thursday's Children, and I do love the days of the week titles. In this book, it sounds like Frida gets wrapped into a new investigation that has to do with one of her old classmates' daughters who claims that she was raped in her own bed and that nobody's going to believe her, but Frida does believe her and meets with her, but then she ends up committing suicide. The girl does. And then Frida then is very much involved, and it draws her back into Frida's hometown and some past events in Frida's life and her childhood. And again, that sounds so interesting. It also sounds like we as readers are trying to solve what happened to Frida, which sounds really good. Okay, moving on. So Friday. So this is Friday on My Mind. So in this book, it sounds like she's almost being set up. So there's a body that was found in the river, and the body had a wristband that had her name on it. So she was called in to identify the body, but it wasn't one of her patients. It was actually an ex-boyfriend. And then it seems like she has thus become the main suspect. And I think she goes on the run to try and like save herself and figure out what's going on. So good. All right, I have 2 more in this series. So as for Saturday, this is Dark Saturday, and this sounds great. It doesn't really sound like it's about Frida, but it sounds like there is this case that she's drawn into, and it's about this girl who I believe was arrested for murdering her whole family, and she is in a mental institute, and for some reason Frida has been asked to go meet with her, and she finds out some stuff that she realizes that maybe this girl didn't do it, or there was a lot more sinister things happening in that family, and it goes from there. So that sounds really good as well. All right, last one. Actually, and this isn't actually the last one. It's the last day of the week, but there's one more book in the series, which I didn't realize this when I was looking them all up. And so this book is called Sunday Silence. And so this sounds like, again, it's sort of targeting Frida and her life. But in this case, a body has been found in the floorboards of her house. And she obviously didn't do it, but somebody's trying to convince the police that she did. So again, she's a main suspect and she has to figure it out. Sounds so good. I feel like these books really build on each other, and reading them in order will just make the series just come more and more alive. So I'm so excited to pick that back up because I did really enjoy Blue Monday. I enjoyed her character the most out of that story. So that book actually kind of sparked this whole idea for looking for series that featured a specific detective. So excited to get to that. But I do have 2 other books that I have hauled recently that are more in the mystery thriller, but they're not necessarily series. Or maybe one of them is, but I only have the first in the series. And so this book is called Unsub by Meg Gardner. All right, this sounds really good. So this sounds like it is about this girl who has become a detective. She's part of the narcotics unit. She's only been there for 6 months, so she's really pretty new. And what it sounds like is that there are 2 new dead bodies, but they are linked to an old case. And the old case involved her dad. So her dad was a detective, and he was not able to solve these murders by this serial killer named the Prophet, who terrorized the Bay Area in the 1990s and destroyed her father. And now she is part of the police force, and there are very similar murders happening. And so now she's in charge of trying to solve them. It sounds action-packed and just really interesting. And it actually says on the dust jacket here that it's inspired by the never-caught Zodiac killer. So I think that sounds great. And I believe that's the first in a series, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll let you know when I actually get to reading it. But the last book I hauled, it was a part of my book of the month order, which I got a couple other books in that order, but these are the books that are more mystery thriller. And so this is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. And this book sounds so good. It's about this woman whose husband goes missing, and she is trying to look for him. And he left her kind of this cryptic message that was, I think it was find her or something like that. So this book focuses around his current wife and his 16-year-old daughter from another marriage, I'm assuming, kind of team up and try and figure out where he is, why he's missing. And the police are just not able to help. And as they start learning more and more, they learn that he is just not the man that they thought he was, and they feel like he's in like danger and they need to save him, sort of idea, which just sounds really fun and interesting to have it be from the wife's point of view looking for the husband. I feel like a lot of these books are more like the wife goes missing and things like that. So this sounds so good, and I'm hoping to read it this month as part of Jackie's book club, which I'll link her down below as well. So my gosh, I am so excited for this new direction in my thriller reading, to have it be more about like detectives and suspense and like edge of your seat excitement, less about psychological drama. So wish me luck. And if you have any recommendations for me, because like I said, this is kind of a new area for me to explore if I like them. If you have some favorites, please let me know. I'm looking for more favorites in this detective genre. I don't know what to call it. You guys know what I mean. So anyway, I hope you all are doing well. If you like detective books, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. But otherwise, guys, I'll see you in the next book video. All right, take care.